My name is Adam Ernster, and today I'm going to talk about propaganda. I'd like to start off with the definition as provided by the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Propaganda is the spreading of ideas, information, or rumor for the purpose of helping or injuring an institution, cause, or a person. Another statistic I would like to put out there is from Pew Research. 72% of Americans use social media in today's world, and of that 72%, 68% of those people get some or all of their news from social media. Now, this fact alone is not a bad thing. Social media is very prominent in many of our lives and can be convenient for those who are on the run or don't have any other source to get it from to get their news. But what is the problem with this? The answer? Propaganda, or as it exists today, misinformation. In today's world, anybody can put any information they want into the internet, and it spreads across social media in a matter of seconds. For this reason, I believe that because of social media, propaganda in today's world is worse than it has ever been before and creates a major problem for many institutions or countries around the world. To demonstrate this, I will first talk about the history of propaganda, how propaganda exists in today's world, and finally, who is fighting this misinformation and the probability of success. Throughout history, propaganda has been used to build up society or take down society. An example of building up is Rosie the Riveter. Rosie the Riveter was a symbol of strength for women in the war effort, used by the American government to draw in women to help support the war effort and the factory effort. An example of negative propaganda has been used in both world wars against the Germans. The Germans were described and portrayed as beasts who would stop at nothing to kill and annihilate your families and country and the land that you love. Even an example of propaganda used against the U.S. was in the 1950s and beyond during the Cold War. The Russians sent in people who sympathized with their cause, or actual Russians from the Soviet Union, to go into schools, churches, and other public forums where it would be easy to spread the Russian and Soviet propaganda to create sympathizers and create a division between the American public. In today's world, a lot of misinformation and propaganda exists online and within social media. This exists in a variety of forms, anywhere from political campaigning, which could comprise of mudslinging or even positive propaganda in building up a candidate's character. But it can also exist in a terrible form in terrorism. Many organizations out there that have terrorist motives put out videos and or written content publicizing their cause and calling for negative actions to be taken place against the institutions that they are against. Another form of propaganda exists in the United States today, and that is in the form of a radio station called Radio Sputnik, which is a propaganda arm of the Russian government, and they just had recently started broadcasting in Kansas City. The main goal of this station is to divide the American public on many issues, whether it's right-wing issues or left-wing issues and anywhere in between. They even said during one broadcast, "We are broadcasting from Washington, D.C., the capital of the divided states of America." And that is exactly what they are striving to achieve. Now you may think this is a great issue and it's super hard to fight. I don't think there can be a solution to this. In one sense, it is very hard to fight, and there may not be a real solution to it, but there are people out there fighting this constantly. One organization that is trying to fight misinformation in the media is Poynter. Poynter is a nonprofit organization founded in 1975 by Nelson Poynter in St. Petersburg, Florida. Their goal is to use ethical behavior in fact-checking to create a safe reporting method that gives the truth to the public and represents the local areas that it provides to. They fight against misinformation because while Poynter is a news organization, they are also a nonprofit school that trains journalists in ethical behaviors and teaches them how to fact check more so that they can get the real information at hand. Now, in terms of success and possibilities of success, I would like to point back to the 1950s when the 1950 National Security Council met. They were talking about the Russian propaganda in the United States at the time. And they realized the real difference between a democracy and authoritative states. Because in a democracy, which the United States is, the public decides what information is true and what information is false. And the government can't infringe upon that right because that is our constitutional right. With free speech comes many challenges. And to censor that would be against the law, but leaving it also presents its own challenges. In this speech, I talked about the history of propaganda and how it has existed in many forms. Next, I talked about how it exists today in today's climate of the new internet age. And then finally, I talked about who is fighting against this epidemic of false information and how success could be achieved. My conclusion is this: propaganda is not good in today's world, and we must fight it. But we must not fight it by depriving the very rights of free speech that we fought for many occasions across history. But we must fight it by education in current events and real journalism, so we can discern between those who are trying to pull the carpet over our face and those who are trying to show us the real truth.